Every time the princess laughed, 199 men would come forward hoping to marry her. But none of these suitors could have imagined that the princess had a very unusual secret hobby. She loved raising some of the strangest pets imaginable. One day, the princess found 2 fleas hiding in her little dog's fur. Instead of getting rid of them, she became fascinated and secretly placed them inside a tin filled with lard so she could raise them. The 2 fleas spent their days eating and sleeping. They ate until they were full, then slept until they were hungry again. Only 1 month later, the fleas had grown from tiny specks into creatures as large as piglets. They even became so big that they broke through the container and tried to escape. The princess was delighted. She immediately had their hides turned into leather and asked a shoemaker to create a pair of unique high-heeled boots shaped perfectly to fit her feet. Once she had the boots, the princess made an announcement throughout the kingdom. She declared that whoever could correctly guess what material the boots were made from would become her husband, regardless of whether he was rich or poor. The news spread quickly. Countless young men from across the kingdom gathered at the palace to take part in the challenge. They guessed everything they could think of. They named every animal and material imaginable. But not a single person got the answer right. The princess became increasingly proud of herself and laughed at all the men who failed. Then, a red-haired prince suddenly came up with a clever plan. He secretly changed into old clothes and disguised himself as an ordinary commoner. Under the cover of darkness, he sneaked into the palace and hid inside the princess's wardrobe. His goal was to discover the secret behind the mysterious boots. His plan worked. After listening carefully to the princess talking with her servants, he finally learned the truth. The boots were made from the skin of the giant fleas she had secretly raised. The next morning, the prince disguised himself as a beggar and joined the crowd of suitors. When his turn came, he confidently announced that the princess's boots were made from flea leather. The princess immediately turned pale. She was so shocked that she nearly fainted. Although she desperately didn't want to marry a beggar, her pride would not allow her to break her promise. So she left the palace with him. But married life turned out to be far more difficult than she had ever imagined. Her luxurious lifestyle was completely gone. Instead of fine food and beautiful clothes, she had to beg for a living alongside her husband. At night, they had to sleep in a shabby little house. During the day, she was forced to perform all kinds of exhausting and unpleasant chores. She was even ordered by soldiers to work in the fields. But the princess had no idea what was really happening. The moment she left, her so-called beggar husband secretly returned to the palace. He changed back into his elegant clothes and revealed his true identity as the red-haired prince. Then he went to the fields and deliberately treated the princess harshly, constantly making things difficult for her. But he had an even bigger lesson planned. He secretly placed a silver spoon inside the princess's pocket. Then he announced that someone had stolen a silver spoon. The guards immediately searched everyone. Sure enough, they found the silver spoon in the princess's pocket. She tried desperately to explain that she hadn't stolen it, but nobody believed her. She was thrown into a dungeon. 3 months passed. By then, the prince felt that the princess had learned her lesson. So he went to the dungeon and released her. When the princess put on her familiar royal clothes again, she felt as though she had traveled back into another lifetime. Then she looked at the red-haired prince standing before her. Everything suddenly became clear. She finally realized who he really was and understood the lesson he had been trying to teach her. But the proud and arrogant princess from before was gone. She had learned humility from everything she had experienced. She took the prince's hand, and together they returned to the palace. From that day forward, the two of them lived happily together.